Hi guys, Genki desu. Hi, I'm Genki, and in today's video, I will be reviewing Live Alive from Square Enix. Please like and subscribe to help the channel, so let's check out the review. Live Alive was released on July 22nd, 2022. I went to the launch event in Shinjuku, Big Camera, to pick up the game. I waited in line for 1 hour and got a signed copy from Tokita-san, the producer and writer of the game. I had to stand in line for 1 hour to get a signed copy of the game, but it was well worth it. So, let's talk about the game. Live Alive is a game originally released in Japan back in 1994 for the Super Famicom, or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, by Squaresoft. It was never localized in the West, so when it was first announced in the Nintendo Direct, I didn't know what it was, and I had never heard of it. Live Alive is a turn-based JRPG that tells the story of 7 different protagonists. It's a really beautiful game, and not just a port of the original game from the SNES. The game's assets have been totally remade in the HD 2D style. It looks amazing. The HD 2D in this game is one of the best we've ever seen from any Square Enix game. The 3D backgrounds with the amazing 2D sprite animation. The game looks super stunning. And as we can see here, the game has gotten a massive glow up from back in the Super Famicom SNES days. So here's some shots for comparison. You can see they've done a lot more than just put in 3D backgrounds and make it HD 2D. They've totally redone the sprite work and added improved UI. The game really looks amazing. The game is broken up into 7 main chapters, each one with a very unique story, style and different character. The length of each one varies from about 1 hour at the short end to about 4 to 5 hours at the long end. The 7 chapters can be tackled in any order you like. Each story is very different. We have the prehistory chapter starring Pogo back in the caveman days. We also have the Wild West chapter starring a cowboy called the Sundown Kid. There's the Imperial China chapter starring the Earthen Heart Shifu, which is a more Chinese style kung fu adventure. We also have the Twilight of Edo Japan chapter starring a trainee ninja, Oboromaru, which is a super cool chapter with lots of ninja and samurai action. There's also the present day chapter starring Masaru Takahara, who wants to become strongest fighter. This chapter is like Street Fighter in that you battle several different characters until you get to the boss. It reminded me of Street Fighter 2. There's also the near future chapter starring Akira, who has psychic powers and can read people's minds. This chapter also features the giant robot, the Steel Titan. We also have the distant future chapter starring Cube. This one is like a homage to Alien. It's a sci-fi adventure in a spaceship in space. Those are the 7 different chapters. Each one has its own unique gameplay style and story, which were very entertaining. The gameplay in each chapter varies a lot too. In the Twilight of Edo chapter, you play as a ninja who can go into camouflage by holding up a transparent cloak in front of him to slip past enemies. In the near future chapter, there's hardly any battling at all. It's more like a story adventure with sci-fi themes of movies like Alien. Each chapter offers its own different plus points and charm. Now for the battle system. The battle system sees you take turns on a grid-based battlefield. You position your character to deal damage or to get out of the way of enemy attacks. The grid system is a bit similar to games like Fire Emblem. Each ability has its own attack range and different stats and buffs attached to it. You have a timer bar above your character that loads up to tell you when it's your turn or the enemy's turn. I felt the battle system was quite simple, but there was loads of different and cool, unique abilities that you can do, and they all have their own cool animations. Even though the battle system is quite simple, there's still some tactics you need to do to get through the battles in terms of positioning your character outside the range of enemy attacks and going in for the attacks at the right time, as well as healing using items or healing abilities. Each character has their own unique set of abilities, so each character's battle style is very different. I felt the battle style was very simple and fun at the same time. The game's visuals really stunned me. They're really beautiful and charming. From the dust particles you can see floating in the saloon of the Wild West chapter to running on top of the Japanese Edo period castles in the Twilight of Edo Japan chapter as a ninja. The HD 2D in this game is super amazing and a style that I would love to see in more games from Square Enix. It's a real fresh coat of paint from the original game released back on the Super Famicom in Japan only. The UI has also been majorly improved and modernized, and you can save the game at any time outside of battles, and the game offers you many different save slots to save your progress. Now onto the music. The music in this game is super great too. The music in Live Alive was composed by Yoko Shimamura. It was the first game she worked on as a composer after joining Squaresoft. Before then, she worked on games like Street Fighter II with iconic music for many of the Street Fighter II characters. Since she has also worked on games like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy XV, and the music here is absolutely outstanding. The music has all been reorchestrated with a modern orchestra and it sounds super amazing. There's a boss battle theme that runs throughout the game each time you encounter a boss battle, and also each chapter has its own musical style too, from the western style music of the Wild West to more Japanese music in the Edo period, or a more sci-fi soundtrack in the distant future chapter. Each chapter has its own amazing music. Yoko Shimamura is a legend. The story of the game is the part that hooks you the most. It's really interesting and unique, and unlike most things we've seen before in a video game. 7 different chapters. Some are quite short, but very sweet. The chapters I enjoyed the most were the Twilight of Edo Japan chapter with the ninja Oboromaru, and the Near Future chapter with Akira, who could read minds of the characters. I also enjoyed the Distant Future chapter with the cute robot Cube. That was a sci-fi chapter. And also I enjoyed the Imperial China chapter with the Earthen Heart Shifu. In this chapter you could choose your apprentice. I chose the Wanderer and Thief Lei, whose character went on to inspire the character Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII. The director of the game, Takashi Tokita, also wrote parts for Final Fantasy VII character Yuffie, including the scene where we first bump into Yuffie and she tries to steal your materia. It's very similar to the story of how we first meet Lei in Live Alive. Also, something cool is that the English voice actor of Lei is the same as the English voice actor of Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is Susie Young. She does a great job here. Towards the end of the game, random counters are introduced. I felt this was a bit jarring, as the game before you could see enemies freely on the map and approach or avoid them at will. The switch to random encounters was something I didn't enjoy as much, especially when I wanted just to get from A to B as fast as possible, and I kept bumping into random encounters. But this is where you can feel it's more of a traditional RPG. Also, at the end of the game you have to do a bit of grinding as the enemies become much stronger than in the previous chapters. But there's a lot of endgame content to the game, including trying to get the characters' best equipment and to try out the various endings to the game. It took me about 25 hours to complete. I got to the true ending, and there's still a lot more I want to try out to get the other endings and to get other equipment for the characters. Also, the voice acting in this game is amazing. Not only did they add new Japanese voices, but also they have localized the voices into English as well. The English localization was done by Square Enix with the help of Nintendo of America, and the voice acting is really top quality. They have all the different accents from the different regions, like the Imperial Chinese chapter, the characters sound like they have a Chinese accent. In the Wild West chapter, they have this old Western American accent, and there's even in that chapter there are some Mexican characters who speak Spanish. It's so cool. Oh, and in the Distant Future chapter, we have the crew members who are all from different nationalities. So we have some other different accents in there, as well as Australian people's accents, which is quite refreshing to hear. So yeah, the voice acting is super amazing in this game, and a huge glow up from the original, which didn't have voice acting at all. All in all, there was a lot of love and care put into this remake of Live Alive, and to bring it to a new audience around the world. I definitely recommend you check it out. I was entertained throughout. It's one of the best examples of HD 2D out there. Whilst it is a shorter game, I felt it's a must play for any JRPG fans. Apart from some of the grinding and the switch to random encounters towards the end, I felt the story was enthralling, really entertaining and funny. I absolutely loved my time with the game. There are also reoccurring themes throughout each of the chapters, such as this father and son that keep popping up at random times throughout some of the chapters. If someone knows what's going on with those two, please let me know in the comments. But all in all, it was an amazing game. Live Alive gets a Genki Gamer review of 9 out of 10. Thank you Tokita-san, thank you Yoko Shimomura, thank you Nintendo of America, and thank you Square Enix. This game was amazing. Thanks for watching. Tell me if you'll pick up the game also, or if you have played the game yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. じゃあね!